Greetings everyone, boys and girls. This is James here speaking, and how's it going? Today is on the May 26th. I think at the way back this. Today is originally the May 25 between May 26th, 2021. And today we want to have to ongoing the series that it against the police brutality that has to begin to uprises to the protests. That means that I accuse and as it rights as racial unrest, the racism that began to locate at US Riots and the protests. And I meant to remember the victim him. And this was had to the African American man to the lived in the U.S. that most were the peacefully to their life as I pronounce it call it, and ever since that with that African American man, and I felt that I had to broken to him, but because that cops arrested and is being being choked at their neck as a cardiac arrest. So, and I really felt it as we can't believe there's, and I'm gonna tell you about it. There's a movement to be the broken hands to remember victims. But it is let's call it George Floyd. George Floyd is the guy that the African Americans, the guy that has a wonderful, terribly life that lived peacefully in the U.S. state. That, as I believe, in a result, as a result of security jobs during the tragedy, the world apocalypse of coronavirus, and the bounty reader that has grew up before. So this other even turned to be that has caused to be the police violations. Is convicted that that police officer is totally agreed. So what happened that the George Floyd just gotta lose his job, and they went to security jobs, never using the money, and so that the U.S. the lockdowns experience during the world apocalypse of disaster, with the largely the amount of it that other than somehow that has a large anything is as just parallels have as a society existing, it is worldwide there, but unlikely that the cops, the police came into George Floyd for an attempted tax into the inside to check up, and who were tried to under arrest, and that is a footage of a moment. It takes to a 9 minutes and 29 second. Yeah, it's 9 minutes and 29 second. As a three police officer that's work on the checkup, this one of bad cops that the Floyd says whoever that told him that he didn't want to go to jail, that and it had to the last scene, the last moment, it is pretty shocked, and the George Floyd to the last life less. I mean, I meant that I'm gonna have to say in this. So, George Floyd is going to be a last scenes the moment that the police officer is getting on the ground, says takes out of control to the police officer that under several knees on the neck as struggles as a pusher from down to have a choke of her neck. At the scene the spot to the block it in here, and they can't have the breathing in and out. there's a major problems that illegally to the knees onto the portion of them that the neck, and it's so Floyd is a heard that yelled his head help there from police officers that want to get off them, and it after that thing is that the Floyd just the qualting at the moment just after the before the clock and the choking in the neck. It's like I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, get off me, I can't breathe. Something like that. That's really shocked. This is absolutely shocking, this footage moment. One thing is of George Floyd for the last briefing, the last moment, is so he couldn't take his own life with that. That police officer is involved to be to have to and the rest of this restimulate this struggles that they underneath to it, and that's I feel takes us about minutes and seconds and then later. And after that, so what happened? Yeah, George Floyd was pronounced dead. Yep, he's actually dead, which was just wrong. This police officer says could be ever wrong. Just imagine as who there ever the police brutality that could ever done that just could end up with the broken with the Floyd family, the brother, sister, mom, dad, nephew, niece, auntie, and anything is a countless of the family there. The Floyd families that were shocked that affirmed that George Floyd is pronounced dead. His death by choking the neck by the knees by a police officer, and has looked it over and is there in the police station. The police station in Minnesota that as being a result the 3 police officers got fired and later being arrested. This guy is it was found guilty. He was found guilty of the 2nd degree unintentional murder, 3rd degree murder, and 2nd degree manslaughter. Just about that. Just about originally the April 20, 2021 before. But isn't really much to say. It's that the police officer could ever done about existing in the real world. So as a realized that feel sad for George Floyd and them. And those were usually I had to mention. As this case so far, when I was a teenager, I met with an African guy who was just met to him to nicely greet him this net before years ago. This has happened, but George Floyd got killed by a police officer for reasonably why that he didn't want to go to jail, and at this moment is they went to the out of control and pronounced going to kill him. And one thing is Floyd's life and the rest of the affair to the putting the head says resting in place in the street and the flowers in the cart. The one thing is humans and existing in the real world is worldwide and ongoing series that happen. It sends the George Floyd protests into the very rage. That's right. George Floyd protest is into United States that protested against the police brutality, and they saying that the qualitative said that Black Lives Matters says all life matters. But what Ernest had says outside of the country that soon to widespread of George Floyd protests and effects materially takes against of a coronavirus pandemic that and that the real the moments that and that just automatically the impact of the worldwide that's it's good thing is just tragedy. That's good tragedy. I mean, I don't admit I would say. I forgot about mention, but on this Thailand, the several the Thai people, the Bangkok, who were to the protests to be assumed in due to the COVID-19 responsive that are war for the simple for the being that on this online here the probably the Thai people the this we pronounce that to call it the 2020-2021 Thai George Floyd protest. That's what they call the Thai George Floyd protest. That's what I'm gonna call it as the Thai political crisis. Politics 2020-2021 political crisis. The Thai politic crisis. It's having taken place where several located into the country down the range and for a while of that. And cities, the country says right for massive riots all around the country. Everything's just over and over and over in the place that there is things to be said accused. It's still going. As rivals are peacefully to the market of 1 year's passing of George Floyd. People are pressured to have the police officer being good or bad. And then they sent to George Floyd's protest that very raged all the country. And doesn't have to as the people are staying with the indoors and inside of bedroom houses to be quiet. All of them millions people society just had a front with inside when they connect to the online that it noted be to how to survive the world apocalypse with coronavirus and everything else that's ongoing. The problem that the police officers is so much big importance that impacted because the racials as far the human race is existing to be that the police officer against the racial people violated speed, the innocent people, and it could be wrongful. So this must be the big wrong reason. That's why. That's because the George Floyd, the passing, and took the street, the somewhere the Europe's, Asia, North American, and this must be terrible. It's worse than the 2020. That's it's unremarkable, but all life as a human population that has already had downside the downfall of the real world. And it's been a long time to have seen to him, but at the same time, I usually remember some memorable, just bring a memory to this. And everything is states, everything is just slated to be just ongoing to happen. Okay, so if you have friends with the African American people and with the Asian people, many niece and nephew, and many the boys and girls says if you want to have them met them together peacefully, and don't ever go closer than against the police brutality, and don't even say like the George Floyd passing, and people crowd of it makes us mad at them you. And I had it be. I was put in the mentions that remember the victims, the George Floyd. Just have to say the memories of victims of George Floyd. This must be had to 2020 and 2016. This must be terrible. So this was 2 years, decade existing real world, and it could completely wrong there, and systematically and horribly wrong to do it. And I don't know that the World War III is going to be happen, that apocalyptic is going to be soon this next year, as next more decade. It's going to be happens of my life as a future, and I don't know. To the official, the personal is James Taylor, live in a Mainam's Muntak, Thailand's small in-house studios, and provides as the remembering victim person to the memory with George Floyd. And that's about it. That is the 1 year after passing of George Floyd, and 1 year after the George Floyd protests. Cumulatively, the real world is going to be just happened. The protest is still going. Coronavirus is still infected all around the country, and people hopefully to find the Chinese people that get their all fault, and this is only the Chinese people all fault, and everything all fault and resourced and remorseful for it have a reason, and hopefully get to recover the real world issue pretty soon. So right now, so I will just head out to here, and this is gotta be tragedies stuck in the indoors. This happened right now, boys and girls. That is the remember it. George Floyd, the 1 year's passing. For the rest is with the George Floyd legacy, the entire in the media, and I'm heading out to so that's so pretty much to say. I hope you enjoyed the videos, and don't forget to contact me and visit our website to see it more of in detail. So I'm just get this out of here. So I'm out of here to the videos as enjoyed. So as always, later.